Yeah, let's do it.
So, hello everyone. We have Joe today with us. He is the CEO of CrewAI. So, Joe, most of the people in tech world know you, but for those 5 or 10% people who doesn't know you, can you introduce yourself? What do you do and why do you do?
Yeah, so my name is kind of hard to pronounce, but I go by Joe. That makes everyone's lives easier. I'm the CEO and founder of CrewAI. CrewAI is both a company and also a framework to allow people to build AI agents. If you're thinking about AI agents or hearing about AI agents, you should probably check it out.
Oh. So, I have few interesting questions. So, first one is like, what is the biggest issue in A2A communication right now?
Huh. It's interesting because when HWA came around, I low key I thought this is a solution without a problem. But I think like I got burned because people are actually using it. So it's fun because I'm seeing a lot of people actually trying to use these agents now across the wire. But there's still like a lot of things that haven't been figured out in terms of like how you host these things properly and how you expose some of the actual tools behind it. There are people that are building things that should be A2A as MCPs. So I think in the end of the day, it's just maturity. It's not there's something broken, but I think everyone's still throwing things at the wall and trying to see what sticks.
So, it's in very early stage right now.
Exactly.
So, and how does the crew AI prevents the hallucination loop?
Yeah, that was a big thing back on GPT-3. Like I remember that you would get us stuck on a loop. There's actually something that we're launching today. It's an entire new memory implementation that is meant to allow these agents to remember things over long-term executions. Like you can run them for hours now, and they would be able to figure things out. But we don't see much looping and hallucination that way. I think hallucination is now more being a problem around accuracy. So a lot of like knowledge and memory address that movie. Yeah.
Because a lot of people reported in Twitter and Reddit that they implemented A2A agent to agent communication in their startup, and they end up being charged at $2,000 due to the loop.
I
Hallucination.
see it now. Yeah, the HOA thing is interesting. I think like here's what some of our customers are doing, right? Their main thing is because we sell mainly into big and like larger organizations, they know they will have custom agents that they will build with Crew AI, for example, but they will also have external agents, like the ones that they do with Salesforce or ServiceNow, whatever it may be, right? And then what they want to is they want to be able to have one way to integrate those agents, part of a bigger flow. And that's what we're seeing a lot. But these agents from ServiceNow or Agent Force, they're usually a little more thought out. So it's not like connecting to a random A2A agent that might be stuck into a loop or something.
Loop. And my next question is like, will the agent of become the big thing in the future? Will it replace the traditional DevOps thing? Or
I don't think it will replace, but it's definitely going to be a big thing, right? I think like we're just talking about this on the stage. There is a runway to the bottom to make building agents extremely easy. So it's almost like getting commoditized. You can create agents with so many ways. You can use CrewAI, you can use N8N, you can use Zapier, you could use whatever. There's so many ways. But the thing is, building agents has zero value. What I mean is like, unless this agent sees the light of day and you run this under a certain scale, you're losing money. Like the second that you start building, it's negative ROI. So I think that a lot of that is going to be that agent ops. Is like how you allow this to actually run it at scale and get adopted, right? Same way that you have data ops or that you have dev ops, I think the agent ops will be a big piece as well.
like, so my next question is really interesting. Like, how do you convince any CTO that they should deploy the autonomous agent in their production?
Mm, yeah. I gotta say it's interesting because there's customer facing use cases and internal use cases, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's fights with internal use cases more. It's just you guys, it's a little more
Limit for
control.
limited users and
Exactly.
lasting
Which
users.
is less rate is small, so if things go south, you can figure it out. It goes back to guardrails in many ways, right? The beauty of the systems is that they are non-deterministic, right? The other thing is not everything needs to be an agent, right? I think like there's principles of engineer that brought us up to this point that is still valid. One of them is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, right? So at the end of the day, like if it doesn't need to be an agent, doesn't need to be an agent.
Mm. So, what is the parameter you specifically target to decide whether this logic should be agent based or traditional coding based?
I think like it needs to benefit from a few things.
Good.
It needs to be able to self-improve, for example. It needs to be able to handle anything that I throw at them. So it's not like one single data thing that I'm throwing. If I always have the same format, usually I don't need that to be an agent, right? But if there's small format, different formats, then that has a little bit of like more of that je ne sais quoi to that. So I would say anything that requires self-improvement or self-healing, or you don't know necessarily the data that is coming in, or you want to have decision making being part of the process, that for me is a good example. If I had to put in simple terms,
Mm.
is if you need agency, right?
Yeah.
If your process is always A, B, and C, that is not an agent. But if you want an AI to decide what happens next in the process,
Mm.
there you go. You got yourself an agent.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really helpful. And what is best and your most favorite startup idea, which is currently in trend and which is using True AI?
So let me echo back and make sure that I got it. What is my favorite startup idea
Yeah.
that is using CrewAI that I'm excited about?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say the one that I didn't see coming.
Oh, yeah.
So there is this large company. They're using agents to do video editing, but they're doing it a very interesting way. So they created a visual model, like a video model that knows how to track a ball. So when like soccer is going on TV, they have that film going, and then they have agents that can cut in, they can add captions, can add music, and are pushing that in social media in real time. So as the game is going and the match is going, it's producing content. So I think like that was I just never saw that one coming. I was like, damn, this is like I never thought about this use case.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And like in future, like if big tech companies like OpenAI or Cloud, if they will include the True AI based feature in their in-house platforms, then what will be your strategy to defend?
Hmm. That's a great question. I think like right now, even if you look at our customers, right, you're gonna find banks like Royal Bank of Canada. You're gonna find government deals like the U.S. Department of Defense. You're gonna find CPGs like PepsiCo or Johnson and Johnson. So it's very much cross vertical. And then you go into these companies and you're gonna see different teams doing different things. There's gonna be sales, there's gonna be marketing, there's gonna be support. So it's also cross horizontal. What I mean is the market's huge. It's probably the biggest market ever. So everyone's going to go after it, right? Right now, I think there's four clusters of companies going after this. There's hyperscalers like the AWSs, the Azures, all that. There's going to be the model providers, the OpenAIs, the Anthropics. There's going to be the incumbents, right? The Salesforces, the ServiceNows, the Workdays, and there's going to be the startups. So I think those four clusters of companies are going after the same opportunity. Now, there's a few things that only we can do, right? For example, we have the open source community that other folks don't and all that. But I think there is a bigger question that everyone is trying to answer, not only in agents,
Good.
is there still a mode for anything, right? I like you saw me prompt agents and a UI on the stage. If you can prompt anything into existence, is there a way that like no one can cop whatever you do? And then if that is not a mode, what kind of modes can you have? Maybe it's data, maybe it's your business model. So there's a lot of different angles in there. And I think every software company in the planet will need to crack this, right? I don't think anyone has their place in the sun guaranteed.
Good.
You're gonna have
Yeah.
to fight for it.
Yeah. And my next question is like, as CrewAI has their own open source community, so what are the advantages does CrewAI have?
Speed, transparency, it plays in a lot of different ways. For example, right now, 63% of the Fortune 500, the biggest 500 companies, are using CrewAI. So we can actually go down and chat with them, right? It's funny because I get to meet amazing leaders and everyone wants to talk about agents. So it's funny because I sometimes find myself sitting with like CEOs of huge companies, right? Talking about these problems and how they're thinking about agents and all that. So the open source helps not only on that adoption, but also helps on hiring. For example, sometimes when I hire someone, we can go to the community and they already know the company, they already know the code, they already have been working with that. So that also helps. If our customer wants to hire someone, we can refer someone from the community. So you can see how the not the open source itself, but the community behind it becomes a flywheel.
Cool. And my next question is like, if some student like me have some interesting idea and they wanted to get the support from True AI, like specifically want to reach out to you, like what are the channels, social media channels they can go?
The easiest way to get an answer from me nowadays is probably X. LinkedIn is too busy, too many messages. I can read them all, but X is not that busy. So sometimes X works as well. Or if you can get someone that know me, then that's a no-brainer. Because like if someone say like, oh, we should be talking with X, then I can reach out and that makes my life easier as well. But usually just tagging me on X, not even a DM, just tagging me on a post, I see most of theirs. So I might not reply all, but I see almost them.
Well, and like, are you finding any tech individual who can be able to solve any specific problem which you are facing right now?
Oh, a lot. Yeah. I mean, we literally our plan this year is doubling the company. We're gonna be hiring like, I don't know, over 60, 70 people this year. It's gonna be a lot of people joining. So that's exciting. I think that there's a few things across the board. So one, DevRel. I'm looking for a killer DevRel. So that's great. Two, I'm looking for incredible engineers, but gotta be in the base. Though this group is gonna need to be in the base specifically. Three, I'm looking people to help on partnerships. I think partnerships would also be an interesting one. Fourth, there's a few marketing roles. So if you think about product marketing and a few different other things. So th- let's say there are a lot of roles open, and for the right people, we can always find a spot.
Well, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Have a great one.
Thank. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, man.